Hey guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be ranking every single hourly track in Animal Crossing New Horizons. One of the most important pieces of music in any Animal Crossing game are the hourly tracks. I feel like many people use these tracks as a baseline to kind of gauge how good the music is in that game. After all, the hourly tracks are the most heard pieces of music in any Animal Crossing game. Now this video will only be covering the hourly tracks in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I will not be covering any of the hourly music in GameCube, City Folk, or New Leaf. However, if you guys want me to rank those tracks as well, please let me know in the comments and subscribe to my channel so you'll be notified if a video comes up. Now let's get started. So how I'm going to be ranking all these tracks is similar to my rankings on my main channel. I'm going to be putting all these tracks on a tier list from D to S tier. I would also like to mention this is all just my opinion, so some tracks that I list on here you might not agree with. And if you don't agree with, please let me know in the comments and I'd love to read them. I'm also going to start at 6 AM first and work all the way up towards 5 AM last. So let's start with 6 AM. So with 6 AM, I actually think this is a really good morning track. It's really suited for the sunrise, and the sun is still rising at this time. And even more importantly, some of the villagers are also starting to wake up at this time. So at 6 AM, I'm going to be putting this in the A tier. I really like this morning track, and it really suits the sunrise and when everyone is getting up. I think it's kind of underrated as well. A lot of people I've seen didn't like the 6 AM that much. Next up is 7 AM. I am a little bit mixed with this track, as when I first heard it for the first time, this was one of my favorite hourly tracks as it was really energetic and I liked the overall beats of it. However, as time went on, I slowly started feeling the energy was a little bit too much for just being a 7 AM track. Now don't get me wrong, the music itself is kinda nice, but I think I would put this in a later hour rather than just being 7. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting it into B tier. It's a really good track overall, however, I think it plays at a weird hour. I think I would have liked this a lot better at a 10 or an 11 AM music. With 8 AM, I think it kind of has the same problem as 7 AM, where it's too energetic for the hour. I mean, Nook's Cranny just opens and more villagers are still waking up at this time. But I think it's a little bit too early still for such an energetic track. Track overall is not really as good as 7 AM either, so that doesn't really help that much. So I'm going to be putting it in C tier. It's not the worst track in the world, but I think I would have taken another 8 AM than this one. So 9 AM, I think actually has the opposite problem of 7 and 8 AM. I think this plays too late. Like, honestly, this is kind of the 8 AM version of New Horizons, but it plays 1 hour later, which I think is actually too late. I mean, listen to it. The track is really slow as it's still suited towards the morning, but I think this should have been placed at a way earlier hour, like maybe a 7 or 8 AM. But definitely not at 9 AM because that's when everyone is up. However, the track itself I do really like as a morning track, as it's still quite slow and really picks up the morning a little bit. So I think I'm going to put this track into B tier. Good music, just plays too late, and yeah, nothing else to say. 10 AM, I'm a little bit mixed on this track as there are some parts about it I didn't really like, such as the parts with the electric guitar at the start. However, the second half of the loop I think is pretty good. I guess the overall track is just okay. I don't really have much to say about it. I still think it's okay for a morning track though. It's not too energetic while not being too slow either. So I'm going to be putting it into B tier. It's a decent track overall, and it's much more suited for the hour compared to 9, 8, and 7 AM. But the overall track, I guess, is just a little bit lacking. Now with 11 AM, I think the track is actually kind of too slow for just being an hour before the afternoon. Like, I think this track should have been a 9 AM theme, and I think that would have made it sound better. But since this is 11 AM and it's supposed to be a transition for 12 PM, I think it's not really suited towards that hour. So I think I'm gonna put 11 AM into C tier. I will put it above 8 AM, but it's just not really suited for the transition to the afternoon. Now 12 p.m. I really love this afternoon track as it really picks up the energy of the afternoon and it forces you to go outside and do something. Like just listening to this track alone makes me want to go outside, visit my friends, maybe take a walk in the park, and just do a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to put this track into S tier. I really love the energy in this track and I really think it's a good track for the afternoon. And personally for me, this may be a little bit of a hot take, but I think this 12 p.m. actually boxes out all the other 12 p.m.s in the Animal Crossing games. Like the New Leaf 12 p.m. and the City Folk 12 p.m. Although I do like them, I think the New Horizons 12 p.m. boxes out those ones. So yeah, really nice track overall. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for 1 p.m. I actually have the exact opposite opinion. So this 1 p.m. is really boring for just being an afternoon track. And I was kind of disappointed when I heard this 1 p.m. for the first time. It was just boring, I guess. Nothing really else to say. And compared to the 1 p.m.s in all the other games, this one is no doubt the worst one of the bunch. So I'm putting 1 p.m. in the D tier. It's not really that good of a track overall, and it's definitely not suited for the afternoon when 12 p.m. just had so much energy going for it. Really big disappointment. Now, a lot of people have regarded 2 p.m. as the absolute worst theme in New Horizons, or any Animal Crossing game for that matter. And while I personally don't think it's that good, I don't even think it's the worst track. I think there's a few tracks that I would list that are way worse than New Horizons 2 p.m. But this track overall is still kind of lackluster and it's pretty boring, and the beats of it I don't think is that bad even. So I'm going to put it in the D tier. I would put it above the 1 p.m. theme, but I don't think it's that good, especially for an afternoon track. So yeah. Now 3 p.m. is a little bit better suited compared to 2 p.m. and 1 p.m. especially. It is still pretty slow for just being the late afternoon, but it is kind of the time where everything's slowly slowing down. And I think the track is just okay. It's not the worst track in the world, but it's definitely not the best either. I mean, 3 p.m.s in the other games are also kind of boring, but New Horizons, I guess, is just the most mid out of the bunch. So I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Nothing super interesting about this 3 p.m. Yeah, nothing really else to say. It's just boring. 4 p.m. is just starting the evening tracks where the sun is starting to set, and I think this track actually does it pretty decently. Like, it really feels like that late afternoon track where you were just busy doing everything else and the day is about to finish. And I think this track is pretty good actually. I know a lot of people don't like this 4 p.m. that much, but personally I think it's one of the better 4 p.m.s in the series. So I'm gonna put it in the C tier. It's not exactly a track I would listen to every day, but it's definitely nice hearing it now and then. So 5 p.m. is kind of the track where the work day is just ending and everyone's just getting home. And it's definitely suited for the late evening where the sun is still setting and then you're on your way home from work. Now this is going to be a hot take. While I do think this is a good track and it's definitely suited for the hour of 5 p.m., I think it's actually overrated. Like, honestly, I really don't think this is the best track in New Horizons by a long shot. There's a lot of other themes I would choose over 5 p.m. in this game. And especially in other games, some other themes I would pick over the 5 p.m. theme in this game. But don't get me wrong, I still like the 5 p.m. theme overall. I just don't think it's something I would really rave over and listen to 24/7. So I'm gonna be putting it in the A tier. Good track, definitely suited for the hour, but I don't think it's as good as everyone else perceives it to be. Now at 6 p.m. I kind of have the opposite feeling of 5 p.m. I think it's actually really underrated, and I really love this as an evening track where the sun is still just setting or has fully set depending on your time zone. But it's just the perfect tropical sunset type theme. I really love the vibe of it. It's also the time where everything is slowing down, you're at home, maybe just relaxing, maybe you want to take a nap. This is really the perfect time to be doing that, where you can just relax at home doing whatever you want. So I'm gonna put this track at the top of A tier. It's not quite S tier, but I think it's a really good evening track. Now 7 p.m. is kind of an interesting track. When I heard it for the first time, I actually didn't like it that much, especially compared to New Leaf's 7 p.m. But as I listened to the track more and more, I started kind of liking it as it's really suited for the transition to the nighttime. Like, this is a time where in Animal Crossing, the dangerous creatures of the night would just come out, like the tarantulas, scorpions, and most commonly the rare bugs on the trees if you were in the summer. This is the time where they all start appearing much more frequently, and I think it's a really good track to signify that. So I'm gonna put this track into A tier. Really good track overall. I do think it's boxed out by the other 7 p.m.s in the series, but I still don't think it's that bad either. So really nice. Now with 8 p.m, this has the same problem with the transition from 12 to 1 p.m. I really don't think this is suited for a nighttime track at all. Like, this is not really the best sounding track, especially when the sun had just set, and especially comparing to the other 8 p.m.s in the other games. Like, this one is a really big disappointment. Like, the 8 p.m.s in all the other games was just the time where the sun had just set and it is just nighttime. I think this track really does not deliver, so I'm gonna put it in the D tier. I do think it's worse than 1 p.m. overall. I just don't really like this 8 p.m. that much. There isn't really much else to say. 9 p.m. I think is okay. It's definitely much better suited for the nights than 8 p.m. in my opinion. But overall, I guess the track is still kind of lacking. It's a little bit boring still. But personally for me, I think it's one of the better 9 p.m. tracks. It's definitely boxing out the New Leaf 9 p.m. and City Folks 9 p.m. for me. So I'm gonna put it in the C tier. It's okay for a night track, and it's definitely better than some of the other night tracks in the other games. But I still think it could do better. "10 p.m. I think is actually pretty good as a night track overall. I think this definitely would have been better if it was the 8 p.m. theme. But overall, I think the track is really nice as it really has that feeling of it's just nighttime and you really need to do something. But I do think this plays too late for this type of rhythm. Like, it's 2 hours before midnight and this track just feels too fast for the late night. And yeah, nothing else to be said. So I'm gonna put this track into B tier. It's a decent track, but similar to some of the other tracks in the ranking already, I think it plays too late. Oddly enough, with 11 p.m, I actually think it's very suited for just being an hour before midnight. Like, I think it really has that vibe where it's just an hour before you have to tune in for bed. And it's definitely the time where some of the villagers are starting to go to sleep, more specifically the lazy villagers. But who cares? Anyone could go to sleep at this time. Now, I do have a little bit of bias when it comes to this track because as I was in the summer, like 5 years ago when New Horizons just released, and I was still trying to catch the scarab beetle and the giant stag, I listened to this track a lot and it's just grown on me ever since I started grinding for those insects. But yeah, I still think this track is overall nice as being an hour before midnight, so I'm gonna put this track into B tier. It's probably not the best track in the world, but it's definitely not that bad either, and I think it's well suited for the B spot. So 12 a.m, I think it's actually a really good track as a midnight theme. It definitely has that feeling where it's just midnight and everyone's just going to sleep still. But I really like how calm it is and just how it feels at the nighttime. So I'm gonna put 12 a.m. in the B tier. Definitely not one of the best tracks in New Horizons, but it's not that bad either as it's really suited for the midnight. 1 a.m. I think is okay. It's definitely much better than the 1 p.m. theme, but compared to other 1 a.m.s, I actually think this is pretty lackluster. Now, to be fair, New Leaf had the best 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. themes, and New Horizons is just coming off that, which is probably why a lot of people didn't really like this one. But even then, I don't think this 1 a.m. is even that bad. It's definitely very mysterious, as it's just 1 hour past midnight, and it's kind of a little bit of hinting of what the heck are you still staying up for type music. So I'm gonna put this track in the B tier. It's okay as a really late night track, and it's definitely overshadowed by other 1 a.m.s in the other games, but I still don't think this track is that bad. With 2 a.m, I actually really like this track as a really early morning theme. It really captures the feeling of being really late out at night and you're off doing whatever you're doing, and everyone is still just going to sleep. I think it's a really good track overall. Now, it does have some reminiscence to the New Leaf tracks because that music had a lot of the piano in it, and this is one of the few New Horizons tracks that actually has the piano in it. So I think it's a really nice track overall. So I'm gonna put 2 a.m. in the A tier. It's definitely really nice as a late night music, and it's definitely suited for when everyone is still going to sleep and then you're just still up doing whatever you're doing. Really nice track overall. Okay, the 3 a.m. theme. Now, it's no secret how everyone feels about this 3 a.m. A lot of people really don't like this 3 a.m. as it's just really boring and it's really just an electric guitar and trumpets and stuff. Now, I will say 3 a.m. has always been a weird hour to stay up on, as everyone always claims it has something very mysterious going around it, as many unfortunate things just happen. And I guess the track does represent that a little bit, but that doesn't mean I like it. Like, there are 3 a.m.s in some of the other games, and while I don't even think they're that good as well, I would still take them over this 3 a.m. So I'm gonna put this one in the D tier. It's probably the worst track in New Horizons so far. I am not sure I would call it the worst track in the entire franchise, but it's definitely down there for being one of the bottom 5. Now, the 4 a.m. theme, I think it's actually pretty good as a transition towards the early morning, especially coming off of the horrible 3 a.m. theme. Like, I think this track is just a breath of fresh air compared to 3 a.m. and it's definitely suited for getting ready for the sunrise in the morning. So I'm gonna put it at the top of B tier. Not quite A tier because I think it could be a little bit better, but I think it's a good morning track overall. Now, the 5 a.m. theme, you guys probably know how a lot of people feel about this 5 a.m. A lot of people really like the theme of it, especially with the piano. And then personally for me, I really love this as a really early morning track where the sun is just rising and it's the start of a new day. Like, the sunrise is always beautiful to watch, especially in real life, and I think this track really has the perfect feeling of watching the sunrise. So I'm going to put this 5 a.m. in the S tier. It's easily my favorite New Horizons track by a long shot, and it's definitely worthy of that S tier placement. Really good early morning track for me. So yeah, that's all the hourly tracks in Animal Crossing New Horizons. There's definitely a lot of good and a lot of bad tracks in New Horizons, but before signing off, I want to give you guys my opinion of the New Horizons soundtrack as a whole. Now, it is no secret that a lot of people really didn't like the New Horizons soundtrack, and people have considered it the absolute worst in the series. So what do I think of the soundtracks? I actually think it's just okay. I don't think it's a bad soundtrack at all. I really like a lot of the themes in this game, especially the soundtrack outside of the hourly music. I really like a lot of those tracks. For the hourly music, I just think their general range of where they rank is just really big compared to other Animal Crossing games. Like, the good ones, I would say, are definitely way up there as one of the best in the series, at least for some of the hours they play at. And the bad ones, I would definitely place a lot lower on a tier list for all 96 tracks. So I guess overall, New Horizons soundtrack is just decent. Personally, I think the hourly tracks would probably rank second lowest. I would think GameCube is probably the lowest in that aspect. But in terms of the other music, I actually really like all the music outside of the hourly tracks. The Town Hall theme, all the event themes, and even the Dodo Airlines themes. I really like all those tracks, and I personally like them better than New Leaf's tracks, if I'm being honest. Now I may get a little bit of hate for this, but honestly from New Leaf, the only tracks I really actually liked were all 3 Main Street themes, especially at night. The Nook's Cranny or whatever all those upgrades were. The hourly tracks especially, and the Town Tree. Even the title theme I really liked. But other than that, all the other music I would prefer in New Horizons compared to any of the other games. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say, which means that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys like this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Animal Crossing videos. I am ACNH, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.